Personal log celestial date 218.243.21. We have managed to get the money back from the Shattered Federation to the Universal Stars, and Kiri, who is kind of the receptionist for the Universal Stars in their front office, has told us that we can go on and see Arnav, who is the leader of the Universal Stars, and hopefully he will give us access to the passphrase to get into the Shattered Federation. Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is Starforged Alpha Cluster. We are with Krista and Mainframe, who is a bond of Krista's. And in the last session, they went back to were back at Dead Rock. They went back to Dead Rock, and they wanted to find out where Brennan Shelton was, because Brennan Shelton stole 9 million credits from the Universal Stars. They weren't really able to make any progress on that. We got a lot of weak hits and misses, and at one point I want to note that I said I was going to roll face danger, but then in the interface, um, I happened to have secure advantage open like this, and I think face danger open like this, and I had been scrolling down to do other things, and when I scrolled back up, I hit the roll button here instead of here. And it turns out it doesn't really matter because we were going to be using the same stat. And as a practical matter, when you're using a stat and making a roll, the um, the same result happens, right? You're still adding the result. It's not like we get a bonus on facing danger versus secure advantage or anything like that, at least not in this particular case. We rolled a miss. It would have been a miss either way. The consequences are worded a little bit differently, but pretty much the same thing. And so I think I interpreted it correctly, and it all worked out just fine. What we managed to do with Mainframe is, in the end, we managed to sneak him into what we call a substation of the Weave, which apparently is what some of these different communities have. So what I decided is each sector has a Weave hub in it. The Weave hub in this sector of Chronos Tide is at Rec, which is a big place with like 20,000 people live here. These others are only a few hundred or a few dozen people. You know, this one is dozens. So there's maybe like 70 or 80 people live on Dead Rock. And so they don't have a Weave hub, but each of these places has a Weave substation, which acts as sort of an unmanned relay. The adept, which is the person who is actually linked in and being the living supercomputer, is in the Weave hub and only leaves the Weave hub temporarily to maybe make repairs or whatever. And I suspect there may be maybe a couple of them. They take shifts, right? And so when one of them's not on shift here, he can go and make repairs or whatever. So since there is a sort of an adept-enabled Weave annex or Weave substation here, Mainframe was able to access that, and in so doing, he was able to find out that the money had been wired to the Shattered Federation already that Shelton stole. So there's no need to talk to Shelton. And he was able to hack into Brink and basically identity steal someone at Brink, use their identity to break into the Shattered Federation's bank accounts, steal that money back, pull it into this false ID account, and then shunt it over to Rec, where it got back to the Universal Stars. So they got their money back. The Shattered Federation thinks somebody in Brink broke into their system and stole from them. And that was enough to get Kiri, who is kind of one of the secretaries or administrative assistants in the Universal Stars front company, to let them in to see Arnav. So Arnav here is the leader. Arnav Legrand is the leader of the Universal Stars. And what we found out last time was that Arnav seeks an artifact, a cultural artifact, to save him from a dark prophecy. And I think I'm going to put that in his goal. Now, we don't know what the dark prophecy is and what the artifact is, but that's his goal, and we'll figure that out as we go. He may tell us. The other thing I want to do, because I keep forgetting to do this with NPCs, the other thing I want to do is roll his disposition ahead of time. Right? Is he going to be nice to her or whatever ahead of time? I wish there was sort of a way to like tweak this, because I feel like since she just did this massive favor for these guys and got them $9 million back, right? His disposition should be fairly high. I don't think he's going to be like hostile or threatening. So I really wish there was like a little blurb on here that would tell you, like, if you just completed an Iron Vow, subtract 20 or something like that. So I'm going to sort of house rule this as I've done before. I think that he probably won't be threatening or hostile. So I'm going to roll 1d86. I like that you can do this in Foundry. It won't roll an actual die, but I'm going to roll 1d86, and that will allow me to figure out what his disposition is without going into areas that I think don't make logical sense based on the narrative. I get a 22, so he's going to be cooperative. Is it the second time we've gotten a 22 when I've rolled a weird die? Maybe. I feel like I have. So Kiri is going to lead them sort of back in past the reception area into an area behind that there are several kind of labyrinthine hallways, and there are people walking back and forth, and they're wearing these shirts that have the logo of the Constellation Corporation on their shirts, and then they kind of go into past like a cafe area, and then they go way in the back and up an elevator, and they end up on the second floor where nobody's wearing those uniforms, because this is where like the Universal Stars are actually doing stuff. And there's a lot of sort of questioning looks at her, but she sort of, these are the guys that helped us, and she brings them to this spacious office, and this office has a big round porthole in it. This was one of the cabins of one of the elite people that lived on this generation starship, and so it's big, and it's got multiple rooms to it. So he's in what had been the living area with his desk and everything, and then there's sort of like another room off to the side that would be like the bathroom, and then another room off to the side. Maybe he's got his own private like entertainment space or whatever. And Arnev is sitting at his desk, and he is talking into a small sort of a visiphone type communicator sitting on his desk, and he's just ending the call, and he looks up when they walk in. And when they walk in, what do they see? What does he look like? So what they see from Arnav is that he is uncanny, don't know what that means, and ill-equipped. Again, I'm re-rolling that. That's just too many times. Scarred. Okay, so he's an older guy, and he's got scarred under his what? I have a hit location. So let's just roll it and see where the scar is. We got this hit location from Champions, by the way, on his arm, and then is it left or right? Is it left? Yes. So he's got a scar on his left arm. And his left forearm. So he is uncanny. So he's sort of, what's the word for it? I mean, I wanted to say uncanny, but okay, kind of creepy looking, kind of spooky looking. He's got this scar on his left forearm, and he kind of looks around as she walks in with them, and he says, "I'll call you back," and he, closes the connection, and then he stands up and he says, "So are these our benefactors, Kiri?" And she says, "Yes, sir. This is Jackpot and Mainframe, and these two are the ones that got us our money back." And Legrand gestures sort of expansively, and he says, "Come on in and have a seat." And he's got a couple of seats before his desk. "And can I offer you two a drink?" And they say yes. So he walks out into the side room. It's got like a wet bar, and he comes back in with a couple of, I don't know, Outlands martinis, and he puts them down, and so they sit down, and he has one for himself, and he says, "Kiri, that'll be all. Thank you very much." And she says, "Yes, sir," and she walks out. So, so can we make a connection with this guy? And we got 10 momentum. I think so. I think let's make a connection because she did him a favor, and he's cooperative. And she says, "Well, Mr. Legrand, oh please, please call me Arnav. My friends call me Arnav." He says, or does he? Should we make a connection? And we get a miss. Let's burn momentum and get a strong hit. So we get a strong hit and create a connection with him. Now I think he is going to be much more difficult to cultivate. So I think he is going to be. I think he's going to be extreme. He's going to be very hard to cultivate, right? Because he's the leader of an organization. Well, he's not the leader of a big organization. Let's call it formidable. It's still going to be a while to cultivate. So let me set him up, and I'll bring you guys back. All right, so we have Arnav set up. He's formidable. Got a little bit of a picture for him. He's older, and let's reveal an aspect of him as we talk to him. And this revealed aspect will be he's stubborn. Okay, well, that's not great, but well, let's see what happens. He's cooperative but stubborn. Well, that's okay. I mean, my sister's kind of like that. All right, so he says to them, "Tell me, how did you do this?" And she says, "Well, I have a mainframe here to thank." And he says, "Oh yes, mainframe, because they're friends." He says, "So we owe you another debt." And Krista says, "Well, actually, you can kind of pay us back right now." And he says, "Really? What do you want for the $9 million?" And she says, "Well, look, we just wanted to prove that you could trust us. I am looking for a relic that was stolen by the Shattered Federations when it was on its way to a friend of mine named Zephyr over on Relic Station. And they stole it, and she needs it back, and I promised her that I would get it back. So I would like to go try and get it back, but I need to know where they are and how to get in there." So I found out where they are. Mainframe knows that. But Mainframe told me that they have defense set up all around the perimeter of their system, and so we're not going to be able to get in when we get out of the drift unless we have the passphrase. And I was told you guys have the passphrase. So she says, "Can you give it to us?" Now, the vow, right, was just to get in to see him, I believe, right? If we look at the old vow, or here it is, right, to do this to get access to him. So we have access now. So the vow doesn't automatically get us to find out the passphrase, right? We need to convince him. So here's the thing. He needs a cultural artifact to save him from a dark prophecy. I wonder if that means that the Shattered Feds have the artifact, and he wants that. Maybe he'll ask them to get that back, but let's run the compel first. Before I do that, though, I do want to say you might notice some differences. I finally decided to get the hexes off of here. I felt like it started looking too cluttered, and I just connected the waypoints with lines, the anchorages. And blue is Blaze Trail Passages by Krista. So she's the only one who knows these, and now Mainframe knows these because he's been on them. And then these orange ones are established, sort of publicly known drift passages. That's just, I think it looks less cluttered this way. So we're going to have to blaze a trail to the Shattered Federation as well. But first, we got to do a move. So she's trying to compel him. So she says, "Look, if you can tell me this, I can go over, I can get this relic. And in the meantime, Mainframe is worried that the fact that you guys have their passphrases is going to get uncovered, and he gave me this, and she brings out the device, and we're going to implant it into their computer system to mess with the adept that they have running their weave so that they can't backtrace you. And so I'm going to give her the +1 for mainframe here because he's friends with Arnav, he's helping her, and also it was his idea to do this second vow, right? So we're going to roll compel, and she's trying to charm him, right, or barter with him, and we're going to get +1 because although we're not hacking, I think mainframe's assistance here is going to help her. I think as a GM call, I think that makes sense. And we get a weak hit, which is actually almost what I was hoping for. He has a counter offer, so he's going to agree, but it's going to come with a demand. And I think his demand is going to be, look, they have a culture artifact that I need. So if you're going to get a relic, get 2. And if you're willing to do that, I'll give you the passphrase, right? So he's got to explain to them what this cultural artifact is and what the dark prophecy is. So let's take a look at these oracles. No, I don't think that's going to work. So I guess we're going to roll some of these core things. So what is this cultural artifact? First of all, is it a human artifact or is it a precursor artifact? I think it's almost certain that it's a precursor. Is it a precursor artifact? Oh, yes. It is a precursor artifact. So what kind of an artifact is it? Well, let's figure out what's his dark prophecy. So try action and theme and see if that helps us. If not, we'll do descriptor and focus. Breach law. I don't know. That doesn't sound like a dark prophecy. Let's try descriptor and focus. Protected liquid. Blood. I think that he's been told, okay, so he's been told by the medics here on the wreck that he has a rare blood disorder that they don't have a cure for. So and I don't know, we'll think up a name for it later, but he's got a rare blood disorder that they don't have a cure for. And there is a precursor artifact owned by the Shattered Federation. Okay? And that thing, the artifact, can cure the blood disorder. So I think Arnav, and I'm going to type this all out. What Arnav says is Arnav's got a scar, right? Arnav shows her, he pulls up his sleeve, he shows her the scar all along the outside of his forearm from his elbow down to the top of his back of his hand. It's this horrible scar. And you know where I got this scar? I got this scar in one of these precursor vaults. And I barely made it out with my life. And I was attacked by this insectoid thing. And Krista says, you mean, and she describes the thing that she saw, and he says, yes. And he said, it carved me up with this spine. I thought these things were extinct. Well, this one was either real or it was some kind of an automaton. And it infected me. And now my blood is slowly killing me. And he says, apparently these forgotten ones, as you're calling them, right? She calls them the forgotten ones. They had some sort of a device that would cure this. And the Shattered Federation has it. So I think that the Federation's guys were at the same vault that Arnav was at. And they got the relic, and he got wounded. And so that's how he knows that this relic is, this cultural artifact This precursor artifact is capable of saving him, right? Or he suspects that it is. So what is this? What is this artifact? Let me think about that. All right, so I think I've got it. It's the symbiote. It's not actually a cultural artifact itself. It needs, so he needs a Forgotten One symbiote, which the Federation got hold of. And he thinks the symbiote can cure the blood disorder, right? So there was the last living one of these Forgotten Ones in a vault, and it attacked him, cut his arm, poisoned him. He managed to kind of get away and hide, and the Shattered Federation was right on his tail, and they got into a fight with this thing, and it killed some of them, but they killed it, and then the symbiote was still alive, and they took it for study, experimentation, trade, whatever. And so they have the symbiote, and that's what he needs. So Chris is going to need to get the symbiote, and if she agrees to do that, then we have the artifacts stolen by the raiders. So I think we're going to fold this into this existing one, right? So we need to find the artifact and the symbiote, right? And return the artifact to Zephyr and the symbiote. So I actually think it's time to upgrade this to a formidable task. We get the passphrase. We need to travel to the Federation. We need to find the artifact. We need to find the symbiote, right? We need to escape the artifact. We need to return the artifact, escape the hideout, return the artifact to Zephyr, return the symbiote to Arnav. I think that's, and then we need to get into the Federation territory, whatever it is. And I think that's kind of what we need to do. And we've only done one of these, so I'm going to go back to a single one. I think this makes the most sense to do it that way rather than try to do 2 quests. It seems to me like too many. So she agrees to do this, and we're going to fold this into her existing vow. And we also have to disrupt the Weave Adept of the Shattered Federation as well. So he agrees to do it, and he gives her the passphrase. I'm not even going to worry about making what it is. He tells her what it is. And then he says, you're going to have to find your way there because I don't know if there are any known drift passages. She says, that's all right. I'm used to blazing my own trails through space. That's how I found Mainframe in the first place. So now the question is Mainframe going to go with her? I mean, I think he wants to do this part, so I think he will. So we're going to keep Mainframe with her for now. I'm worried about this because I don't want this connection to get killed, but I think it makes sense that Mainframe would go with her. So Krista says, well, I'm going to do something before we go because I don't want to get shot up. I think I'm going to put shields on my ship. And then I think what she's going to do is take her ship to the system and dock it somewhere and then fly into the system with just the fighter. I don't think it's fair for her to take the fighter all the way there because she technically does not have a snub fighter as a resource. Okay, so she thanks Arnav, and he says, well, let me know. So she is effectively swore an iron vow to him, so we'll give him a progress and for developing her relationship. And then she leaves, and they smile at Kiri, and they say, okay, well, we're off. We're going to see if we can we can help Arnav a little more and go back to and go find the Shattered Federation. So Kiri thanks her and says, "Let us know when you're ready. When you're ready to leave." And she says, "Well, we're going to leave now, and we'll let you know when we come back. If you don't hear from us, you know what happened." And then they're going to take the Stormswept and they are going to fly to Relic. And why are they going to Relic? Because Relic is a shipbuilding place, and she can get a module for her ship to put shields on it. So we're going to set a course, and they're going to fly to Relic. and just make a single roll because we're going through known drifts. And we get a strong hit, so we take a momentum, and we get to our destination without incident. So we go to Relic, and we're going to spend our XP. We're going to spend 3 experience, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to get a new asset, and that asset is going to be the shields module. So let's import it and drag it over here. And then I think I can delete it, right? So now we have, whenever we raise shields, we roll plus integrity or plus wits. On a strong hit, we set our shields to 4. On a weak hit, we make them 3. On a miss, we make them 2 and lose momentum. If you withstand damage, so if we get shot at, we ignore the damage value of the shields and suffer -1 shield. So if we take like 3 damage, we can go from 4 to 1 shields and so on. When they're reduced to 0, they can't be raised for an hour. Raised shields last just a few minutes. So now this also makes progress on the Space Entity quest, right? Because, oh wait, so we now have shields against the gamma ray. So we have to work out what this quest is going to be, but we're not going after it right now, right? We're going to go to the Shattered Federation. And now this, I think, is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's 13 hexes. I think this is going to be a formidable journey. This is going to take a while, guys. This is going to be several episodes. So let's start a new progress track. Journey to the Shattered Federation. And let me set it up, and I'll bring you back. All right, so I think we're all set. We know where they are. We've got the passphrase. So now we have to travel to the Federation. And that is going to be our next step. So we're going to be going from Relic Station out to the Shattered Federation. And kind of like every hex or so is going to be a waypoint. I feel like that makes sense because this is a pretty far distance. Or, wait a minute, we could just fly to Dead Rock and then fly up there. Let's do that. That makes the most sense. And then it'll be, we'll change it. It'll just be a dangerous, right? Heck, it's probably troublesome to go from there. Yep. Well, that makes it easier. All right, so we're going to set a course. They get back in the ship and they fly to Dead Rock. And let's set a course. Sorry about that, guys. That was sort of an obvious thing to do. Setting plus supply. We're all set here. We get a strong hit. We reach our destination. Take +1 momentum. So she flies back to Dead Rock. They land there. They spend the night and rest and recover. And then when they leave, they're going to head here. So troublesome is, basically just going to need 3 hits. So off we go. We're going to undertake an expedition, trailblazing a new route to the Shattered Federation's quadrant here, or whatever this is. So we're going to roll, and we're staying vigilant. Or are we keeping under the radar? I think at this point we're staying vigilant, but as we get closer, we're going to keep under the radar. So let's roll wits. And we get a weak hit. So we reach a waypoint. And we're going to face a peril. I like that. I like facing perils. So we reach a waypoint. Let's envision what we find. We're in the Outlands. So what we find is a stellar object. And we roll, and we get 2 stars in close orbit. So we get a binary star system. So let me put them here, and then we'll see what else we find. All right, so this is a binary star, Theta Alpha 1 and 2. So there are 2 stars named Theta Alpha 1 and Theta Alpha 2. And there's a peril here. What is the peril? Someone questions your presence here. Someone, A. Could this be Shelton? Or could it be Raiders? I feel like this is Shelton. He's on patrol. I think it's likely it's Shelton. Yep. So we come out of the drift, and right there is Shelton Snubfighter. Okay, and he's patrolling the area. Maybe he even is purposely patrolling the area between Deadrock and the Shattered Federation to make sure nobody follows this passage, right? Maybe he knows it. And so she comes out of the drift, and right there is Shelton's snub fighter, and immediately she gets raised on the comm system. And storm swept. This is Brennan Shelton from Dead Rock Station. What are you doing in this region of space? And Krista gets on the radio and she says, Shelton, are you okay? I'd heard that there was they weren't getting communications from you. And Shelton says, yeah, the Dockmaster told me about that. I don't know what you're talking about. I've been in constant communications with Dead Rock all along. In fact, I was just back there a few days ago. And Krista says, oh, well, I guess my information was incorrect. She says, well, look, I'm just here. I'm just on my way across the sector, and this is an anchorage, and my ship needed to spin down its Eidolon drive. That's all. So now she's lying. So we're going to roll plus shadow and see if she can convince him. And we get a weak hit. They'll do what you agree to. But their agreement comes with a demand or a complication. So what's his complication or going to be? What's he going to ask of her? So I know what he's going to do. He's going to say, well, can you send me your flight plan? You know, it's my responsibility to make sure everything's safe in this sector. And it's hard enough with all these raiders around. So can you send me your flight plan so I can check up on you? So now Krista says, okay, give me a second. And what she and Mainframe are going to have to do is cobble together a fake flight plan that includes this binary star and doesn't include going to the Shattered Federation and is believable. So they work on it. This is going to be facing danger. Mainframe's helping her, and but they're doing deception, right? So this is going to be a shadow with +1 because Mainframe is helping her do the hacking and put it together. So they do it really quickly. I don't know. They're doing it quickly. Should it be edge? I mean, I really feel like it's shadow. This is deception. They're trying to trick him. And we get, oh boy, a miss. So he says, this doesn't seem to be a believable flight plan. Based on this flight plan, why would you even come to this anchorage? I'm going to have to ask you to come back to Dead Rock Station with me. So I think that's enough of a price, right? He didn't believe her, and he is acting against you, right? So he says, you're going to have to come back with me. So now what's Krista going to do? I don't think you can drift together, right? So she's going to say, okay, we'll head back. Just give my E-drive enough time to recharge. And he says, well, I'll wait here with you. And so they wait, and a few hours go by, and the Eidolon drive recharges. And Krista says, okay, I'll go back. And she's going to go into the drift and ignore him and go to the next hex. Okay. So this is going to be undertaking an expedition. Or undertaking an expedition. And I think this is going to be Shadow. She's trying to trick him. If she fails, he's going to come out of the drift with her, I think. He's going to anticipate, right? He's going to go to the next thing and say, oh, now I know you're going to the Shattered Federation, right? So we undertake an expedition. She can't get any help from her buddy this time. And we're rolling Shadow. And we get a weak hit. So she reaches a waypoint, and oh, I forgot to do this. So we've done 1 and 2. So she reaches another waypoint. And we'll envision what we see. And we see a stellar object again. This time we get a white dwarf with shining with spectral light. So we get another white dwarf. And we face a peril. Um, a familiar foe appears, I think, is the most likely. I think because we got a miss, yep, he's here. And he's waiting for her, and when she comes out of the drift, he's going to attack her. So let me set up the star, and we'll bring you back. All right, so we're back. We've got our star in place. It's called Alpha Omega. And she comes out of the drift, and right there is Shelton's fighter. And he radios and says, I knew you were lying to me. I knew you weren't going to go back to Dead Rock. And there's only one place you could be going on this particular drift passage. And I know where it is. And you're not going there. And he is going to attack her. Now, he's only in a snub fighter. So I think this is just a troublesome battle. He knows she's armed, but he's faster and more maneuverable than she is. What he doesn't know is she's got shields. And so we're going to do the shields. So she's going to enter the fray, right? And I don't think so. Let's see. When you enter the fray and score a strong hit, you can measure shields without rolling. All right. So she's going to have to do it kind of as part of her actions. So she's going to enter the fray, and I don't know if she was ready for this, but we do get wits, and she starts cursing, and she says, damn it, get up into the gun turret to Mainframe, and he runs to the back and tries to get up into the gun turret. Meanwhile, we enter the fray, caught in a trap with wits, and we get an opportunity, a strong hit, and momentum. So she's in control. Raise the shields. So roll plus vehicle integrity or plus wits. The starship's integrity is 5. So we get a weak hit. So on a weak hit, we get 3 shields. So her shields come up. He can't even see them, right? And we have an opportunity. So what's the opportunity going to be? Let me think about this. Let's roll a descriptor focus and see if it gives me any ideas. Radiant people. Okay, so I think what she does is she moves the ship so that it's like right in front of the white dwarf star, and it's kind of shining in his face. So he has to fly on instrumentation only, Shelton, because he can't visually see her ship. And as she gets into that position, she is going to say fire. Now she's fire. She says fire to disable. Do not destroy him. Okay. And so I think what's going to happen here is if we end the fight with something bad, right, it's going to blow him up instead of disabling him, and that's bad because she's going to have to explain why she killed an officer of the law. Now, he's on the take, and she's got evidence that he was, but still. So she gets to shoot at him. She has her control, and she is going to... They're going to fire, and this is a strike. Right, she's in control, and she's assaulting at range, right? And the blasters of it open up, and she says, "Hit the engines. All we want to do is disable him. And if you can hit his communicator while you're at it, that'd be pretty good too, because we don't want him radioing the Shattered Federation and warning them that we're coming." So they get an opportunity to hit his, I don't know, comm array or whatever, and we're rolling edge, and we get a weak hit, mark progress twice, but she's in a bad spot. I think that's okay. So we mark progress twice. Bam, bam. All right, they take out his communications array. But that enables him to swing around and get behind them in an angle where Mainframe gets on the mic and he says, "He's behind the engines. I can't shoot him with it. I can't shoot him. I don't have an angle on him. You're gonna have to turn." Right? And so she's gonna turn, and I think this is react under fire, right? Because we can't clash because he can't shoot him right now narratively. So we're gonna react under fire. Right, so she's in a bad spot. He's behind her, and now he can fire on her. So she is going to try and turn her ship up vertically so that the gun, which remember is on the top of the ship, right, is going to be the dorsal side, right, is going to be able to fire straight back where her engines were, because now her engines are where the belly of the ship was. You see what I mean? It's going up vertically. And it's going to hopefully give an angle to Mainframe so that he can try to knock out the engines. So we're reacting under fire, and I think she's dodging. So this is edge. Oh, and we get a complication. So she turns the ship up that way, and Mainframe squeezes off a shot but misses. And I think Shelton gets to hit, hits her ship. He's going to hit the shields probably, but I think he gets to hit the ship, right? So your equipment or vehicle suffers damage. And I think that's true. So he's a troublesome foe. It's going to be 1 harm. So actually, no, the ship. So he hits her, but he hits the shields, right? And so it's -1 shield. So she still has 2 shields, right? And you can, if you withstand damage, you can ignore damage up to the value of your shields, right? So we take 1 damage, we withstand damage. I guess we make the roll first, right? No. We're going to resist. We don't need to resist the shields. So we take a damage, and the shields take it. And Krista says, bleep it all, fire at him. And he says, I'm still not in position. So Krista's going to maneuver around and react under fire again and see if she can swing around and get the gun in position that Mainframe can fire. And again, this is edge. And we get a miss, but we can burn momentum for a strong hit, and I think we're going to do it. So we burn momentum. We're down to 2. But we succeed, and we take control. And now she's going to say, hit his engines. And is this gaining ground? I think what she's going to do is she's going to say, hit his engines, and he's going to say, I don't have an angle on that. And Krista is going to jam the thrusters on and go really fast and try to spin around behind Shelton and see if they can target the engines. So we're going to gain ground. And again, this is maneuvering, so we're using edge. And we get a strong hit. We can mark progress, take 2 momentum, +1 on our next move. We're going to mark progress. And she says, fire! He's lined up. He's going to fire and try to hit the engines. Right? And this is where, if we kind of fail this roll, right, we might blow him up by accident. So this is bad. At least potentially. Where are we in combat? Take decisive action. So we're trying to take him out. We got to roll progress, and unfortunately this progress track isn't letting me roll it. Why not? Here we are. And we get, a weak hit. And the weak hit says, it's worse than you thought, make a suffer move -2. We achieve the objective, but not without cost. All right. So a suffer move. I think, okay, so they knock out his engines, but the maneuver potentially damages her ship, -2. So it basically harms the integrity of the Storm Swept, right? Shields are off now because they only last a few minutes. And um, I'm not going to allow her to use the shields to withstand damage because this is hull integrity, right? The shields aren't going to protect you from the stresses of maneuvering the ship, right? The G forces or whatever you want to call it. So I think we're going to withstand damage the normal way, right? Um, roll plus integrity. So let's go ahead and try to withstand the damage and see how it comes. And we get a weak hit. On a weak hit, the vehicle is battered. Can lose 1 momentum exchange for +1 integrity. So let's do it. So the ship is stressed, and several hoses kind of spring loose and spraying like gas in the bridge, and Krista's like waving and coughing, and some of her monitors go out, and there's like a couple of lights just like explode in the hallway, and so there's some superficial damage, but the ship is mostly okay. She hears mainframe cursing over the comm system. But they've knocked out Shelton's communicator. They've knocked out his engines. He is basically stuck here adrift. And she says, well, this will give us time to get to the Shattered Federation, and if he's still here when we get back, we can tow it back to Dead Rock and bring him in for arrest. And Mainframe says, we'll be lucky they don't arrest us for attacking him. And she says, well, what choice did we have? So that's the end of our first space battle. That was pretty cool. And we've made some progress on our journey. Let's get rid of this. We've made some progress on our journey. We need to do one more waypoint. And I'll draw that in offline. And when we come back, we will be trying to get to the last bit of the journey and get to see what the Shattered Federation, where are they? Are they on a derelict? Are they on a planet? Are they in a deep space station? Don't know. We'll find that out next time. Until then, I am Scrapperlock, and this is Starforged Alpha Cluster.